Hey everybody, I am in Nashville at a hotel. Uh, got here late and decided to, get something to eat because I drove in from Atlanta rather than fly. And In fact, it was my mom's idea. She was saying, why don't you it's just a drive up. And I thought, oh, okay. And drive up. Wow, it's a long drive. Also, my GPS started playing footsie with some ghost or whatever, and I realized I was going around in a circle. But I will say this: if you have an opportunity to rent or buy a Chevy Impala, do so. It is one of the best cars I've ever driven. Of course, I haven't driven every car that you would use for a long distance drive. I came up here nonstop. Pew! Fantastic car to drive. Loved it. Loved it. So I am here, and I am quite, quite excited to be here. This is my 14th straight year getting credentialed. My 13th year covering, and I missed last year, as regular viewers know, right? And this stream is not going to be long. In fact, I intended to start it a little earlier, but I just got in. So I had to put things here, put things there, and I had to, order food. And I highly recommend, hold on a second, folks. If you're ever in Nashville, near the airport, Roma, not Roma. Roma. It's great food. They've got fantastic. Take a look at this, folks. Take a look at this. They got fantastic. This is calzone. Right? Look at that. That's what's remaining of the calzone that I ordered. Okay, and then the antipasti here. It's hearty food, $34 for that plus Pepsi, 2 liter. Okay, so and they deliver right to your room, so pretty good. And so I'm getting up to go to it's an event at the Nissan Stadium that will feature the NFL players that are here. 22 of them. There was 20. At first it was 23, and then Montez Sweat decided that he was going to not sweat it out in the green room and stay in Georgia, have an event in Georgia. So 22 players would be on hand for the media interview. There's a media session, and the rest of the time is spent with youth from the Nashville area. So I'm going to get up and go to that event at 11 o'clock, and there's some other events going on, but my main intent here is to let you know that Zennie62 has NFL draft coverage. Much of it on YouTube, much of it will be a combination of short live streams and videos, so that you can have 3 to 5 minute videos, generally of interviews of players, and then a live stream of the event itself. In previous years, I would do one long live stream, and then I would turn around and slice up that live stream. And sometimes you miss the ability to pick up a great deal of traffic doing it that way, so I'm not going to do it that way. And the other advantage of being here is if the first round pick of the Raiders happens to be Quinnen Williams, who's here, I get to interview him, right? One of the first, if not the first. Pretty huge, So, again, but the difference between this year and previous years is, like in previous years, I didn't have my video-based system set up, right? Where I make a video or it becomes a blog, and goes automatically out to my YouTube channels and all of my social media platforms. This time, yeah, I got that. So, like I said, I can't say enough about how excited I am, not just only to be here, but to have the opportunity to unleash my system on the NFL draft world. Now, as far as the NFL news, draft news that happened, well, of course, you may have heard that Frank Clark was traded. Not only was Frank Clark traded, he was traded from franchise tag player, traded from the Seahawks to the Chiefs. But then, voila, guess what? Domestic violence allegations from the past surface, and now people are questioning why they did that. Well, my thought about that is, and Googling Frank Clark right now, is that, first of all, there's no question that he is an outstanding defender. I don't know the particulars regarding this domestic violence issue or assault. All I know is that I'm looking at his Twitter account right now, and as I speak, he says, and I quote, he says, first, look who's on his way to KC, and then he has another tweet that caught my attention, and I'm trying to get in so I can look at it. Let me go back another way to look at it. It says, anywhere you go in life, just remember to always put your name on something. Focus on your energy and stay on pace, no matter how many times you may get off track. I thank John Schneider and the rest of the organization for believing me back in 2015. It's always love. We going up. So, yeah. So, I think one of you made a comment here. I don't want to miss it. Let me go back and see what it was. You said, Dawit says, trade Derek Carroll to a further first pick and Rosan QB for their second round. So let me ask you, since we're talking about trades and picks, what do you think of the possibility that the Raiders, although I think it's a remote possibility, that the Raiders would just trade out of the top of the first round? In other words, trade their fourth pick, pick up 2 lower round picks, like two low. When I say lower round picks, let me clarify. Pick up 2 first round picks, so that they have 4 picks in the first round. They get more top flight players. Maybe you don't get the flashy player that goes in the top 5 or the top 10, but you get a player that can definitely start for you and be a plug-and-play participant in your organization. What do you think about that idea? Spell check on the last one. Yeah, you said trade Derek Carroll for a first pick and Rosen. Spell check. Okay. Yeah, write that again so I understand what you're saying, and refer to which team. Are you talking about the Cardinals? So just give me a clarification there, and also let me know what you think of my possible scenario for the Oakland Raiders, that they trade the fourth pick for 2 picks in the lower part of the first round of the NFL draft. What do you think about that? And again, that would give them 4 players to finish the makeover of the Raiders. I'm trying to think. No, the majority of Raiders are new. The wide receiver core is all new. There is not one holdover I can think of. Nope. You've got AB is new. Williams from the Chargers came over as new. No, you've got a lot of new wide receivers. The people who started last year are gone. Jordy Nelson retired, and Amari Cooper was traded. Oh, and so you're saying Carr, to Arizona for their first pick, and oh, I see, in Josh Rosen. Carr, interesting. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? So you're saying Derek Carr. Oh, by the way, plug in for Roma Pizza and Pasta in Nashville, Tennessee. And thumbs up if you can. You didn't miss much because I haven't been here much, and I'm not going to be here long because I have an 8 o'clock in the morning wake-up call, and I dearly like to get to bed. I've been driving for 4 hours, and I'm exhausted, and I'm excited to be here. But you didn't miss anything. Let's see here. What do you think of this, of the idea that Dowitz is putting out? He says trade Derek Carroll. No, he's traded Derek Carr, excuse me, for the Cardinals' first pick. So basically, the Cardinals would get Derek Carr, and that's what you're saying. You're saying the Cardinals would get Derek Carr, and we would get Josh Rosen in their first pick. Huh. I don't see where that's any value for. I mean, they get the number 4th pick, sure. They get Derek Carr, okay. But I don't see the logic in doing that because, first of all, you just got Antonio Bryant, right? And Antonio Bryant is coming here, among other things, because he likes the fact that Derek Carr works out with him. Apparently, reportedly, Ben Roethlisberger didn't. And they've been working out. It worked out a cow. So why would you then step in and break up that pair like that when you went through so much trouble to get Antonio Bryant, and Antonio Bryant is now here. Antonio Brown. I keep doing that. I don't know why. You know why I do that? I'll tell you why. I think because what's going on in here is I'm thinking of Martavis Bryant, his speed, and Martavis reminds me of Antonio Brown a lot. And then they were both, all right, they're both gotten from the Steelers. So all that's in the back of my mind. And so what comes out is Antonio Bryant when I really mean Antonio Brown, all right? Anyway, my point is, Derek Carr is not an air raid quarterback. He is not proven in that system to a point where, because he's been in, 3 different types of Raider offenses since he's been in the league. You're going to ask him to step over to the Cardinals and learn a new one. And when the Cardinals are really better off picking Kyler Murray, who actually knows the system that Cliff Kingsbury is putting in, and moving forward. That wouldn't seem to inure to the benefit of the Cardinals. Okay? Now, I could turn around and look at this another way, and I could say, all right, if the Cardinals trade that pick to the Raiders are not going to take. Well, the Raiders might take Nick Bosa. You never know. Because I was going to say they're not going to take Nick Bosa. Okay, I'm going to say it. They're not going to take Nick Bosa, all right? So Nick Bosa falls. Maybe Nick Bosa falls to the Cardinals. So basically the Cardinals get a first-round pick, get him, and they get a veteran quarterback. I see that. I see the logic in that. But I don't believe that Derek Carr is the right person for that situation, considering what Cliff Kingsbury is going to do. Okay, that's not something that I see. Hey, by the way, anybody see my video blog regarding Las Vegas Stadium schedule? Just out of curiosity. Interesting news there, don't you think? So I'm not seeing that. Let me see what else is going on. I want to get back to this whole issue of Frank Clark, because I did start talking about him and I didn't follow up because I would like to know. I would like to know what happened so I can talk intelligently about him. Okay. And oh, here we go. Okay. CBS Sports. It's sad that everybody wants to get rid of Derek Carr. I'm not one who does. Okay. I'm not one who does. And there's some people who think that this trade is related to a Josh Rosen deal. But what is not being talked about is this. Let's see a lot of this. Wait a second. What I'm looking at now when I say the this is Frank Clark. If I type Frank Clark and then D-O, domestic. Here, okay. And, all right. Domestic violence shelter calls chief signing of Frank Clark disconcerting. Star defensive lineman has violent and criminal past. And this is saying that with a tweeted video Tuesday, the Kansas City Chiefs announced they're adding star defensive lineman Frank Clark to the team roster. The team traded for Clark, who spent his career with the Seahawks. While in Seattle and in college, Clark had a documented history of violence and criminal behavior. Domestic violence advocates call the signing disconcerting. While at University of Michigan, Clark pled guilty to a felony home invasion charge for taking a laptop from a dorm room. 2 years later, in 2014, he was dismissed from the team after he was charged with domestic violence and assault in Ohio. Police records show after his girlfriend threw a TV remote at him, he pinned her down to a bed. She then reportedly bit his nose, and he punched her in the face, leaving a large welt. Oh my lord. Multiple witnesses confirmed the report and added Clark grabbed her by the neck and slammed her to the ground. The woman declined to press charges. Clark later pled guilty to the lesser charge of disorderly conduct and had to complete counseling. In a statement, domestic violence shelter Rose Brooks Center said the signing of Frank Clark by the Kansas City Chiefs is disconcerting. Organizations and other systems have a community responsibility to hold offenders accountable, just as Rose Brooks Center does, in order to end the epidemic of domestic violence. Okay, here, I'm going to stop right here. You know, it would be one thing if this was a case that was outstanding, okay? But it's not. It's settled. And quite apparently, Clark paid his debt to society, whatever it was. Oh, let the man have his freedom. I think people tend to forget that in America, we love to give people second chances and third chances and fourth chances. I think that's the beauty of this country. I don't want to see media and social media, the online versions, destroy that. And that's what could happen with these constant desirable habits that some media types have of basically going up and sticking a microphone in the face of somebody who happens to have an objection to something that somebody did in their past. Everybody has an opinion, but it doesn't mean that opinion needs to be broadcast all the time. All right? And Joseph says that he thinks this signing of Fred Clark by the Chiefs was to counter the Raiders signing of Vontaze Burfict. It's the same kind of player. I don't think there was anything like that at all. I think what happened was that Frank Clark, for whatever reason, became expendable to the Seahawks, and the Seahawks undoubtedly took a look at the draft and thought, you know what, we need to build for the future. Frank Clark has had great years here. He's got Super Bowl ring, and he's getting older, and we see players in this year's NFL draft that we believe can be the next Frank Clark. That sounds like a very logical reason, you know. So that's what they did. I don't think it had anything to do with Vontaze Burfict at all. And I don't see Vontaze Burfict as being the same player or type of player as Frank Clark, because for one thing, Frank Clark was never known for on-the-field dirtiness, okay? So I don't see that. Off the field is off the field. Off the field's a different story. Off the field incidents with anybody should be scrutinized. You should not knee-jerk assume a person is guilty. You don't know the circumstances, especially today. I mean, heck, are you kidding me? Look at what happened with Reuben Foster. All right, gotcha. Joseph says, look, fair enough, just food for thought. But look what happened to Reuben Foster, right? He had the girlfriend from hell. And even though someone might say, well, you didn't try to get away from her, he did. She stalked him. Women stalk too, right? So there are a couple of ways to go with that one. Hey folks, it is 12:10 right now, and I am going to sign off, but starting 11 o'clock my time here Eastern, no, excuse me, Central time, 11 o'clock in the morning Central, I will have a series of live stream and standard posts. Joseph says, do I have any idea? Yeah, I'm happy to express it again. My thought is the same as it was last week. It doesn't matter whether or not the scouts were released. What matters is that the Raiders showed their managerial naivety by not having non-disclosure agreements signed by their scouts. If you have scouts, if you have personnel moving in and out like that, then you should have that signed. Having said that, if you take a look at the Raiders player personnel roster for the last 3 years, it really hasn't changed that much. Maybe they've had like a core, group. It didn't change that much until last year. And then this year. I think John has to stop looking like he's shifting the deck chairs on his own personal Titanic, because he's making all these changes, and he made changes last year and it didn't produce a winning outcome. If the idea is to win, then you need to build a core of players and then develop that core, and John didn't do that last year. So then so what does he do? He turns around, tosses that group, and starts with a whole new one, literally, with only the quarterback and a running back and a couple of defenders and maybe 3 defenders, linebackers and DBs, 3 or 4 remaining, and that's it. So that's not a situation you take into a game and think, I'm going to win, because you don't know how those players are going to play with each other. And John is always talking about how he doesn't have enough time to coach the players like he did in the past. Well, okay, riddle me this. If you don't have that much time, why do you keep shifting the roster so much if that ensures the setup that you're going to have less time to work with new players? Why don't you keep the players you have, change your scheme, and figure out a way to win with them? It doesn't make any sense to me, all right? So, anyway, there you go. That whole thing was stupid. Well, let's see what happens. To let that get out was ridiculous, and I don't care. It's dysfunctional. It reads dysfunction. You don't let that get out. You don't let what your scouts do get out. If it's important to you to protect the information, you have your employees and contractors sign non-disclosure agreements. So that's simple. So I said that before, I'll say it again. All right, good night, everybody. I'll see you.